Good morning to you all. I'm Attorney Edwin Lacierda.
I'm Governor Ben Evardone.
And we are
The Spokes.
From the Palace Halls then to our group chats now, we'll be giving you conversations that will make you think and assess so that you could come out with your own personal opinion. So for our first noted by the Spokes topic, binalik na yung ng SC, inutos ang pagbalik ng PhilHealth ng SC, Supreme Court.
Welcome decision.
Oo, tama yun. Kasi, di ba, tagal na natin pinag-usapan
Unanimous,
yun.
unanimous.
And the High Court said it was unconstitutional yung transfer ng 60 billion.
Actually, ang in-strike down nila yung special provision ng 2025 GAA. Kasi rider eh.
Right.
And under the one subject concept of the
Ang co-host natin, si Barry Gutierrez, is one of the petitioners. So talagang maayos yung kaso. I think from the very start, walang issue na unconstitutional siya eh.
Actually, i-trace natin, Attorney, ang mayroong bill 1513 something, filed by Congressman Joey Salceda and others. Precisely, ganun ang intention. Apparently, hindi nakalusot sa Senate. They included that in the 2025 as a special provision.
Pero alam mo, dinideny ni Joey yan, ha? Sinabi niya, I know that, but sinasabi niya, wala ako sa Kongreso nung pinasayan, so hindi ako may author niyan. Yan ang sinabi niya.
Well, siguro. Wala na siguro sa Congress.
Pero wala rin kaso, by the way, that case, kasama dun sa petition, dapat may technical malversation si Secretary Ralph Recto. Sabi ng Supreme Court, hindi namin probinsya, we cannot decide on the criminal aspect because this is just a constitutional case.
I think apat yatang justices na parang nag-absorb sa issue.
Nakalusot siya, but that doesn't mean na hindi pwedeng investigahin ng ombudsman kung gusto. But basically, it was different from the PDAF case eh. Kasi sa PDAF case, si Secretary Butchabad, kinasuhan ng criminal case. Doon sa Supreme Court decision nila, there was a criminal case involved. That's why kinasuhan si Secretary Butchabad subsequently.
If I recall correctly, yung PDAF kasi parang hindi duman sa Congress eh.
Oo. Hindi, DAP pala yun.
DAP case. Ito, in this case, the executive just implemented the directive of Congress under this special provision.
And that's why the justices said it was just ministerial on the part of Secretary Ralph Recto, and therefore there's no liability. He implemented it in good faith. Yan ang sabi ng Supreme Court decision. No?
Yes, actually, kasi they amended di ba tatlo lang tatlong criteria on how you can utilize unprogrammed funds.
Right.
Excess funds, new taxes,
new revenues.
Loans. And, dinagdag nila ito ng mga idle funds
under
ng
the
GOCCs.
guise, I think, of new revenues yata yung parang ginawang, pati sabi diyan ng PDIC eh. Diba?
Actually, 11 GOCCs yan eh.
Yeah, ang dami
11 yata kung hindi ako
the question right now is, are the 11 agencies
also
automatically dapat ibalik?
Or did they contribute also?
May kinuha sila. May kinuha ang executive branch, ang DBM doon eh. So, we'll see. At least na-maintain yung reserve, dadagdag. Si Senate President Tito Soto mentioned that nasa 2016 budget na yan.
Yes, 2026.
2026 budget.
60 billion ibabalik nila at saka 53 billion additional parang
mabuti
subsidy.
Naman kasi we were just talking a while ago. There was one fellow that ang kapatid niya, 800,000 yung ginastos. Ang participation ng PhilHealth was only about 30,000. Ang liit.
Talagang walang nangyayari dito sa PhilHealth. Sayang nga yung pera, dapat nga expand yung coverage, i-increase yung case rate.
At sa bumaba ang premium, the whole idea of that increase in the revenue of PhilHealth is in order, the three things na sinabi mo, upgrade the services, tapos ibaba rin yung premium, yung rates, no? Imbis na bumaba, I think last year we increased it to about 45% eh. Ang contribution ng mga employees. No? So at least sana ngayon, maibaba ulit itong contribution.
Sana nga, madagdagan pa yan. I don't know if they can do that during the BICAM.
So anyway, tingnan natin kung anong pwedeng gawin. So we'll see. I hopefully matuloy na talaga yung yung pagkabalik sa ano.
I think okay na yun kasi pasado na sa Senate at saka sa House eh.
So sana wag naman
Baka naman ano na sa
galawin
insertion, baka galawin
no?
na naman yan na bawasan natin, ilipat natin dito. Pero palagay ko nakabantay ang taong bayan, I think. And then there's the Supreme Court ruling that really instructs the executive to and the legislative to provide funding for that.
So anyway, so we just have to reiterate, walang kaso si Ralph Recto, no? Talagang,
Wala. In good faith naman. In fairness to him, in good faith naman sa kanya dahil, yun nga, he just implemented what was in the special provision of the 1925.
mabait ang mga justices sa Supreme Court na to. Pero notwithstanding, galit ang mga tao, di ba?
Well,
dahil, kasi ginalaw niya yung beneficiary.
Kasi on the other hand,
60 billion.
baka maano rin siya ng pag hindi niya in-implement.
Kasi
special provision eh.
Pero remember ang petition nila was plunder at saka technical malversation eh. So, anyway, kumbaga, ang Supreme Court skirted that issue and notwithstanding, I think the public also needs an explanation on the part of Secretary Ralph Recto. Ang sabi pala nila, by the way, parang sasagutin yata nila ng executive branch yung decision. I don't know if they're gonna file a motion for recall.
Kung ako sa kanila, hindi na siguro. I think maganda yung wisdom nung decision ng Supreme Court eh. Anyway, they're implementing it sa 2026 budget. So, we'll see.
Yung second noted by the spokes topic naman, nag-resign na si Secretary Babe Singson sa ICI.
Nagulat nga ako, why did he accept the position in the first place?
Actually, nag-usap na kami matagal na. Alam ko magre-resign siya. Pero syempre, sabi niya sa akin, wag sabihin, pero may magaling tayong isang guest na binulat-lat na nag-resign siya. I knew he was resigning. He submitted his resignation sometime in November 11. And then, the effective date of resignation was December 15. Marami siyang reasons na sinabi, more fundamentally because of health issues, no? Sabagay, hindi ko alam pala, 78-year-old na pala si...
nagulat ako. Pero naglalaro pa ng golf eh. One time, nakita ko sa golf course.
Exercise naman yun. Okay lang naman yun. So, heart issues, high blood pressure, creatinine, elevated.
Akala ko talaga completely retired na siya, even from his private sector stint, di ba? Okay. Pero ito, siguro there was a call, clamor to have a thorough investigation. Siguro, alam mo si Secretary Babes, he was our secretary sa DPWH when I was in Congress. Doon talaga siya nagsimula, in fairness, ng mga reforms na talagang hindi naman completely na-eradicate yung corruption, but it was really felt and by the DPWH personnel na talagang na-minimize yung corruption.
Pero alam mo, he also sounded off on some of the reasons why. No? He also said that mahina talagang ICI. Dapat bigyan natin ng powers.
Pero sabi mo nga, parang stopgap lang kasi yan eh. Kasi at that time, walang
and that's
vacuum yung
that's why he's
ombudsman.
supportive of a law from Congress para kasi strengthen, institutionalize the ICI. No? Ang problema kasi, may sinabi pala si Yusek Castro, si Claire Castro, the reason why wala raw silang subpoena powers is that they're not investigating. Parang mali yun. The real reason why the ICI does not have quasi-judicial powers, meaning contempt and subpoena powers, is because it is a creation of the executive branch. The executive branch does not have quasi-judicial powers, and therefore, it must ask those powers from Congress. That's why may mga executive branches tayo, like the National Labor Relations Commission, may quasi-judicial powers, binigay yan ng Kongreso.
Batas.
That, therefore, the absence of that, kaya hinihingi ni Babe Singson, bigyan mo ang ICI ng contempt powers, ng subpoena powers, at saka nung gusto ni Babe Singson, may immunity dapat ang mga commissioners. Kasi ang lalaki ng mga kalaban nila, senador, congressman.
Nako, baka palagi ko kung ako yun, baka pamilya ko umayaw din sa...
Kaya nga, that's why siguro, I think the Senate and the Congress should consider that. Ang papalit daw sa kanya, alam mo sino? Ang magre-replace daw, ang balita. Si ST. Si Senator Trillanes.
Ang palagay ko,
Okay ka ba
from the
doon?
very start, against na ako doon sa ICI idea eh. Kasi meron namang tayong law enforcement agencies, DOJ, Ombudsman, AMLA, etc. which could have done what the ICI, kasi yung ginagawa nila, investigation, submit ng mga ganyan, patos refer to the ombudsman, ganun din eh. Eh, ang gumawa ng mga sinabit sa ICI, all came from CIDG, PNP, AFP Intelligence Group, DOJ, etc., NBI.
Pero notwithstanding, sa tingin mo ba, si Senator Trillanes will be effective?
I'm not sure, baka bias naman siya.
Bakit siya bias?
Eh, siyempre, may political maganda yung non-political ang i-appoint dyan.
Eh, kitang-kita naman siguro yung mga ebidensya eh.
Ako lang, kasi gusto ko sana, the likes of Babe Simpson, na non-political. Kasi pag political ka, siyempre, may konting ka dyan eh.
Sa bagay, subject matter expert talaga si Babe Simpson, engineer siya. So, tingnan natin kung anong mangyayari. No? So, hopefully, kung totoo siya, kung siya talaga...
At saka sinabi na ni Ombudsman Boying,
Kaya nga.
yung lifespan ng ICI, baka 2 months na lang. Which is, ako tingin ko tama eh. Pabayan na yan sa Ombudsman, strengthen the Ombudsman, mag-hire sila ng maraming abogado.
Abangan ang susunod na ICI. But anyway, for our next noted by the spokes topic, si President Marcos has ordered the DILG and the PNP to locate and prepare the arrest of Sara Diskaya. Happy ka ba doon?
Happy on one hand, pero bakit?
Gusto ko happy ka.
Happy on one hand, pero si ano yun sino na? Senator Enrile yata. Anyway, on one hand, maganda yun, pero kumbaga, pero bawal yung surveillance no? Illegal yun eh. Dapat nandyan na yan eh.
Pero contractor yan eh. Meron nang napangalanan ng mga senador, congressman. Happy ka ba na si Diskaya lang ang ipapa-aresto?
Oo nga. Kung sino nandyan na may warrant, dapat i-arrest lahat.
Kasi sinabi ni Boeing, maganda kayo, December 15, may lalabas na may kukulong tayo. Di ba? Parang, the problem I think with this administration is, I've observed that they tend to overpromise and underdeliver. Sara Diskaya is not a good enough detention prisoner. We expect more. The high government officials who have parlayed their influence to a money-making venture. Di ba? Parang ganun yun
baka clog na yung mga natin, yung mga detention centers. Baka...
May ginawa si John Vic na detention.
Maganda raw
Maganda nga, pero
preso ka naman.
Preso nga. Pero hindi. We would like to really see if ang sinabi ni Presidente na walang Merry Christmas para sa kanila would also include high government officials, not just the contractors, which are very, very obvious na madali naman silang may ebidensya against them.
Well, I think this government is serious in pursuing those cases. Kaya lang, yung kailan? Dahil yung taong bayan nag-aantay.
So,
diba?
maghihintay
At saka sino?
So, maghihintay si Eileen ng taning ng December 15 kung may makukulong ng mga matataas na government official. For now, these are the headlines of Noted by the Spokes today. After all the debate whether the 500 pesos is enough to spend for Noche Buena, we'll get the real score on grocery prices on consumer habits when the Spokes return after this short break. And the Spokes is back. Joining us is the President of Philippine Amalgamated Supermarkets Association, or PAGASA, Steven Tico. Hotsaki,
good morning, Edwin. Yes.
welcome to the Spokes.
Actually, I'm now the executive director. I stepped down after 12 terms. I said,
So can you explain to us what this PAGASA is separate from the weather?
Yeah, it's not the weather. It has to do with EDSA Revolution. So it was started right after EDSA Revolution. Everybody hyped up, di ba? So they said that it's time to come up with an association serving the masses. Nag-umpisa doon yung warehouse club, doon nag-umpisa doon, masa, buying a lot. So yun na nga, to serve the public, they came up with this association. I was not involved. They came up with this association called Philippine Amalgamated. Pinilit, kaya PAGASA.
Pero
Hope.
how different is PAGASA from the big change? Are they part of is it a group of small, or how do you describe the...
From big to small, no? This is nationwide. basta serving the masses. Kasi there are supermarkets, you call them 5-star supermarkets, no? Serving more of the well-to-do, yes.
Okay. You have high-end supermarkets, right?
Meron.
So, for instance, the big chain supermarkets like Robinsons, SM, are they part of your...
They are more active members of PRA, Philippine Retailers, because they have
Association.
maraming format sila eh. So they're not just into supermarkets, not
Right.
just food retailing, no? They're into all sorts of
Yung
retailing.
PAGASA,
Food retailing, yes.
mainly food.
Basically.
So basically, how many are your members?
We have around 462 member stores nationwide.
All over the country?
Yeah, mostly besides Mindanao. See, kasi serving the masses nga. And that, you won't find us in Alabang or Makati or CBDs, wala kami.
Alam mo,
Kasi
Atty.
malamang
Edwin,
pa.
totoo yan sa amin, sa Visayas, at sa Mindanao. May mga grocery stores
Chains.
chain na galing sa Cebu, galing ng Cagayan de Oro, Davao, doon lang sila. Pero somehow malalaki they can compete at saka relatively okay yung
Well,
mga
may
prices.
members kami na serving from AB up to CD, no? LCC in Bicol region. More than 100 stores.
In
nun.
fact, sa amin, sa Eastern Samar, nauna nga sila pumasok kaysa itong mga big names eh.
The Samar is an exception. Eastern Visayas, Typhoon,
Yeah.
talagang
Natuwa nga
tutumang
kami nung
typhoon.
pumasok sila eh.
Yeah.
Natuwa kami, first time na
Currently, so your name would repeatedly be mentioned during high inflation, or how's
Yes,
the...
Edwin.
Could you describe the present situation of supermarkets now?
Yeah, I guess because we touch base with the masses.
Right.
No? Now, you're saying how's business? For the big boys, you're talking about the big chains. You just keep on growing. Number one, it's already programmed. If they have to open 20 stores, they open 20 or more stores, right? Because
Right.
that's their target versus competition. So it has nothing to do with conditions, but more of competition. Because I gotta stay ahead. But for smaller stores who have to really, do the pencil pushing to make sure that, each store gives you the right returns, no? Then, they must careful sila in opening outlets.
So how do you balance, for instance, in the United States, in New York City,
Yes.
Zoran Mandami won on the basis of the issue of affordability.
Yes.
So how do you, in your association, how do you balance profits from affordability?
Well, we are a free enterprise.
Right.
Someone wants to buy the same item 5 pesos more expensive from one store because it gives you better service. That's your choice. You want to buy it cheaper, you go to the hard discounters. That's your choice. The brands are not established, but you take a risk. Right? So it's your choice. It's your money.
So you're providing another choice to the consumers.
Yeah, we're providing all the choices when it comes to food, except for the
So
wet
in terms
market.
of prices nga,
Yes.
how do you compare
Well,
to the other
our
big
association
guys?
members, PAGASA members, are mas mababa, cheaper. In general, of course, a supermarket is around 15,000, 20,000 SKUs, stock keeping units. So many items. Who can monitor all these? Even I can't monitor
You
all
mean to
these.
say, but the big chains have economies of scale, so
Yes.
they can demand lower prices from the likes of Suising or the others.
They're not into wholesaling. Suising is a wholesaler.
right.
Price ang kanyang focal point, no? Ang kanyang forte.
But the big chains order from the wholesalers, right?
No.
No,
They
they
order
don't?
direct from the manufacturers. They
Oh,
don't want to
right,
deal
right.
with distributors.
So
we all have to deal with distributors.
So your prices, how come your prices are lower than the big chains? Because they go straight to the manufacturer.
Their margins are bigger because they provide better service, cooler aircon, bigger aisles, parking. You got to spend for all of those, right? Renovation,
Right.
expansion.
Okay.
See?
So let me ask you one thing. We have the November inflation at 1.5%.
Yes.
Last month, it was at 1.7. But on the food items, we've seen the 1.5% is lower than the projected government targets of 2 to 4. That means the prices, the effect of that is the prices are slow, very, very
Tame.
slow going up.
That's right.
It means the demand from the consumers are very soft. Consumers aren't buying, and that's why you guys can increase your prices.
Correct. It's most prices in our case, okay? It's a management decision by the manufacturers. The word SRP didn't come from DTI, it came from manufacturers. Why? I want to price this item nationwide given this SRP.
But is it the general reaction based on the 1.5%?
Yes.
So the prices aren't going high
Right.
because the customers are not spending, are not buying more. So how do you handle that? So
Promotions.
But Edwin,
We gotta do promotions because people are belt tightening. They don't know where money is coming from or will come from in the next few months.
That's
See?
why.
That's why.
Pero
Because
alam
they're-
mo, kung tatanungin mo ordinaryong tao sa kalsada, sa palengke, ang reklamo nila ang tataas ng
Mataas.
presyo ng bilihin eh.
Correct.
So it does not reflect sa inflation
Because it has
rate.
nowhere else to go.
Pero alam
That's
mo,
why we can't keep on increasing by 5%.
but
or-
let me ask you one thing.
Yes.
The inflation rate was, it only increased food. Only increased by 0.1%. 0.1. So practically, hindi siya tumaas. A very, very small, compared last month, was 0.5. October, 1% ang taas niya. No? This one is only 1.1.
Because they use weighted average. The big boys with the most popular brands didn't increase their prices, so you only notice those guys. You don't monitor.
So you guys increase the prices.
Meron? No, not us. But when our supplier increased their prices,
Akyat.
hindi. Akit kami, syempre, natural. Cost of acquisition namin, di ba? Pero we only increase prices for all items when it's labor, costs, electricity, no, rent.
Pero can you explain the disconnect na sinabi ni Kong Ben?
Yes.
You know, it's similar in the States.
Yes.
Nasabi bumaba na inflation, pero
Demand is
mataas
down.
pa rin.
Prices.
Kahit palagi ko, mag-random survey tayo dyan sa mga palengke, automatic yan, 90%, if not 100% will say, lahat nagtataasan ng presyo.
You've heard of
You go to
shrinkflation.
Divisoria.
Shrinkflation, right?
Yeah.
So even if you notice that prices haven't increased, but the item has decreased in size, right? Still happening, but not on a wide scale.
Oh,
basis.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ay, oo
You
nga,
see?
oo nga
Same
pala.
price,
You see?
pas konti,
See?
ang ano.
Correct.
Kaya
You're
yung
getting
Noche
less.
Buena nyo, hindi pwedeng malakihan.
Hindi yung pagkasya po sa grocery basket po yung dating.
Oo.
Kaunti lang,
Alam
di ba?
mo, may kaibigan ako, sabi niya, Gov, nag-grocery kami ng misis ko dati, puno-puno yung,
Depends on the quality of the items you put
trolley.
in, right? And depends on, okay, some say the bigger size, cheaper. Not anymore. Not always. You see, you're surprised. I'm surprised. So sometimes the bigger sized item is a bit more expensive per gram or per liter than the smaller sized item. Why? Sachet. Volume.
Oh yeah, we're called the sachet economy.
That's
Sachet
right.
economy,
That's
oo.
right. Para mapagcash. I once asked a
Baka di
CEO,
nanonotice sa mga consumers,
CEO
palit
ng-
ng palit yung mga sachet.
CEO ng multinational. I said, we are one of the top 10 consumers of your products worldwide. To what would you attribute that? We're a third world country, right? He thought and he said, sachets. That was our secret. We were able to reach down to those who couldn't afford our bottled products.
Yes, yes.
See, we're talking shampoo, we're talking everything that's in
Well,
sachet.
just to be clear, ha?
Yes.
So in effect, you're saying a sachet product is more expensive because it's smaller.
Not
Di ba?
anymore. Not
Pero
anymore.
the idea was,
Yes.
mas malaki ang margins mo pag sachet kasi mas konti ang
Laman.
laman.
Not anymore, like I said. It's a
Because?
different world. Because I was surprised to find out per gram basis or per liter basis, mas murang sachet minsan kaysa yung big bottles. Why? Ang point ng mga manufacturers, they can afford better. Hindi masakit sa bulsa nila yun, di ba? Doon natin
Mas mabilis.
At pinapansin ng gobyerno yung sachet, yung maliit kasi ng reklamo ng taong bayan.
Ang
Di ba?
you mean to say, mas mura ngayon ang sachet?
Sometimes. There is no more general, you cannot generalize
And the
anymore.
profit margin that you have is smaller in a sachet rather than compared to previous years?
Hindi nagbabago ang aming margins. Nagbabago lang margins namin kapag nagbago nga ang aming cost of operations.
How about nga yung content? Baka yung sachet para yung laki, pero yung...
That is correct. Sometimes ang 15 grams,
Minsan,
nagiging
isang
13
sachet,
grams.
magagamit mo 3 beses.
Yung 2
Ngayon,
grams na
dalawa
yun,
na lang.
on a wide scale, ang laking difference nun. Di ba? You remember in the banks before, yung 0.000 centavos, pinagsama, billion, di ba? Yeah.
Balik tayo ngayon sa itong magandang announcement ng ating butihing...
Okay, Secretary.
Hindi, pero pwede ba akong mag-interject lang? This
Hindi
is,
pwede, pero dahil
Hindi,
sa'yo
hindi,
pwede.
hindi. Nabasa ko kasi na yung manufacturing output ng mga factories are down.
Yes.
So,
PMI.
how do you contribute that to...
Low consumer and business confidence. That's what's happening right now. That's why that explains the things you're mentioning, di ba? Why is it like this? Why is that? Akala ko ba mura na, maliit na inflation, bakit di mo yung bilhin tao? No money to buy it with, di ba? Those who are well-to-do, you don't have to ask them when or how much they want to buy. They can do it anytime, anywhere, right? But those majority of the people, the masses natin, di ba? Hindi naman every meal isipin na saan kukunin. Pero nagbibilang sila. Kasi
Nagulat
nga,
ako
they don't
dun
know
sa,
where the money's
have you
coming from.
come across that figures na manufacturing
Yes,
output
yes.
is down.
It was up last
Nagulat
week
ako eh. Ang come to think na Christmas season, dapat, di ba?
Because of that, products from Bangladesh, Vietnam, Indonesia, our neighbors who we used to look down and say, we're better off, are now coming in with their products on the shelves of
That
supermarkets.
contributed also
Are you
to
referring
the-
to clothing?
Not just clothing,
Including food?
Yes, yeah. Because people don't check where is it from, right? Including
Hindi ba
food.
smuggled yun?
Hindi naman siguro. I mean, I cannot tell. Sorry. I'm not the authority.
Sige, balik na tayo dun sa...
But there's supposed to be a higher tariff pag, I mean, especially if they're not part of the ASEAN free market. Dapat mas malaki ang tariff nila. Pag Sri Lanka and Bangladesh is
As long as they find themselves into our shelves, no, given the price points which attract our market, we carry them. We carry what the consumer wants.
Okay. Let me go back to the wonderful statement of our very, very able Secretary of
Yes,
Trade,
yes.
where he said that 500 pesos is good enough for a Noche Buena. And I heard I saw a news article that you complained about that statement.
Not really.
You agree?
Not really also. It's, to the...
Wait.
Yes.
You agree? What part you agree? What part you
Okay,
disagree?
let me qualify. You wouldn't spend 500 for your Noche Buena. I wouldn't spend 500 because we can afford better. For the person who has no meal to think of, you give them 300, pagkakasyahin niya yun, di ba? Oh, in that sense, from that perspective, kasyang 500. But we're being too technical about it. Now, people were asking me, I've had so many interviews the last few days, magkano ba yung kasya? Sabi ko sa'yo, 492.50. No? That technical. I mean, would you go for looking for the products which will add up to 492.50? It's your choice.
For a
right?
family of what?
4. For a family of 4, yung sinasabi
Couple
ni
and 2
Secretary.
children.
Yeah, yung sinasabi ni Secretary. Again,
Ano-
how big are the
anong items yun?
children?
Ano?
Gano'ng kalakas kumain yung bata?
Anong items yun? Anong items?
Oh, well, you're talking cheese. Actually, a blogger did try to come up with 500 meal, and she was able to come. You have to be creative. Don't go for fruit
Yeah,
salad.
but she came up with a blanket statement,
Yes.
which really infuriated
Yeah, I know.
the ordinary people. That at the same time, this whole government officials are raking in money illegally. This cabinet secretary is telling people,
Pagkasyahin nyo.
That's very, very insulting to the ordinary masses.
Well, I guess let's not be too technical, like I said, okay? But she probably should have, if I were in her place, probably say
She shouldn't be technical because
Yeah.
she's a frontliner.
Live within,
She should be sensitive to the needs and
live
concerns.
within your means. Live within your means. Of course, it's different for everybody.
You cannot say that to the C and D. They don't have enough money to live within their means. We don't have a living wage.
Well, you can't. I guess it's not one size fits all. You cannot give a
Exactly. The other thing also, pasensya na, nagalit
dapat
ako sa sinabi. The other thing also is, ano bang pagkakasya, ano mga laman ng 500 pesos yan? Si Eileen, yan, paano siya bibili ng Noche Buena? Paano kakasya yun?
Gelatin instead of fruit salad, for example. Yun lang muna, isang item lang. Diba?
Ano?
Dessert. Gelatin.
Wait,
Gelatin.
Bakit ka mag-isa sa dessert? Yung pagkain mismo.
para
pagkain.
mag-compare. Kasi,
Pag-compare.
of course, if I say spaghetti, it'll be brands, a matter of brands. We're talking the same item eh. Brands ang pag-usapan. Ito hindi brand. Product mismo. Ang babaguhin mo. Be creative. Then, mapagkasya mo. Diba? O, kasi tayo, we think only of spaghetti, hamon, and fruit
Pero
salad.
ang context so kasi diyan
Filipino
talagang hirap
Noche Buena.
na kami.
Yan,
Hirap
ito.
na kami. Tapos parang pipilit niyo pa sa amin na kasi pagkasay niyo yung 500 pesos.
I know.
Parang
People probably-
ganun. Actually, sa totoo rin naman, reality,
Yes.
pwede rin pagkasahin.
Yes,
Kung
correct.
sa Pero
Correct,
sa
Ben.
context, sa usapan nangyayari ngayon, matagal na kami nagtitiis. Everyday nga, pinagkakaasa na lang namin kasi yung baon ng eskwela, pamasahin ng asawa ko pagpasok, renta, etc.
Minsan lang ang Noche Buena.
Oo, minsan
Pagkakain
lang
ko pa sa pamilya ko, parang gano'n, di ba?
Exactly.
People find it
Kasya ba
insensitive,
yung 500?
sarcastic.
Kasya ba yung 500 pesos, for instance, to a family of 4?
Kasya, pero
Kasya?
don't expect special. Di ba? Kasi
Hindi
inisip
muna,
natin, Noche Buena, minsan
Pero
lang.
that's kind of
Kailangan
a-
special, di ba?
It's kind of a
Ganun,
modern
see?
statement. If you
Yun
have two kids who are
conflicting
young,
statements. Yeah.
that perhaps may fit. But
That's right.
If you have two kids who are
The teenagers who
Teenagers.
eat a lot. Yeah.
I mean, how many spoonfuls of
I
whatever
guess-
you're gonna eat would suffice or
I guess
sate their
maraming
hunger?
asterisks na you have to qualify what that statement, entails, right?
So do you think it was the statement of Secretary Roque was out of touch and insensitive?
depends on how you perceive it. And a lot of people
No,
perceive
no, no.
it. Yes.
Don't look at it from your point of view. Perhaps you may not be as affected as the
Yes.
ordinary Filipino. For
Yeah.
someone in the class C and D, or even E, do you think that would be, was that comment quite insensitive?
Yes, because 500, it's difficult to fit 500 for a family of 4. No, maybe 700 or more. You have to add or more kasi it depends on your budget and your taste.
At saka kasi, Atty. Edwin, di ba? Thanksgiving yan, Christmas, pasasalamat. Dapat may some semblance of abundance yung pagkain nyo dyan eh.
May I add one thing?
Please do. You can add more than one thing.
Ayuda. Mindset ng Pinoy. Bibigyan ako ni Kapitan, bibigyan ako ni Konsi, bibigyan ako the ayuda. It has stopped some people from buying because hintay ko na lang ayuda muna. Baka naman bibigyan ako 3 days before Christmas, tsaka ako mamimili. Kung wala, tsaka ako mamimili. So that has somehow, yung pag-aasa ba, umaasa, that mentality.
So we have a mendicant mentality being fostered by the public officials.
And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Di na tayo gagalaw, di ba? Maghihintay lang naman pala tayo ng biyaya galing sa kung sino man yun, di ba? I mean, that stops us from becoming productive, society.
That's another
Pero-
topic na.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Are Filipino consumers spending less now?
I would tend to think. Just by looking at what they put inside their baskets. They're buying less. In other words, if I used to buy 2 times a week, I can probably buy 3-4 times a week from different stores. So you cannot see it anymore from your own store. See?
And where do you contribute that? Mataas ang presyo, less income, or what?
In confidence level. Expectation that I might not have that amount of money. My OFW relative might not send the same amount of remittance. No, they're in the papers it's saying that remittances have grown. That's not part of my circle of relatives, right? So they're afraid, kung wala na tayong kakainin, paano yun? Paano yung tuition? Marami, hindi naman pagkain ang kailangan isipin, nabanggit nyo kanina, di ba?
If people are spending less right now,
Yes.
During the holidays, should we be worried about prices next year? But before you answer that, the spokes will return after a short break. And the spokes is back, still with PAGASA President Stephen Kua. Not the weather, but the amalgamated
Supermarkets.
Our question a while ago, if people are spending less right now, should we be worried about the prices next year?
I don't think so. Probably, for every crisis, there's opportunity. Like I
Okay.
said, there are cheaper products coming in. There are stores coming up with, the hard discounters. They're selling at cheaper prices. Although they're mostly house brands, and their idea, of course, later on, lahat house brands, no? But they're not just made here. Some are made in Germany. Some are they're scouting for items from everywhere, which will give value for money.
But Atty. Edwin, I've noticed also that some imported items, yung mga mura, are galing sa Europe yung iba eh.
Yes. Not anymore, just China.
And
Normally,
then-
China
and
na sa isip natin.
And their quality is very high. So talagang very competitive. At gulat ko, ito lang presyo nito. Na ang ganda-ganda naman yan. Halimbawa, mga konting pangregalo sa Pasko.
That's why
Nagulat ako
dapat as consumer, dapat rin tayo, creative, and at the same time, marunong magkwenta. Hindi naman lahat ng items kailangan ikwenta, maubos ang oras mo, di ba? Kahit the top 10 items that you buy on a weekly basis.
Steve, the food is the most heaviest on the weighing of the
Yes,
inflation.
That's right.
And it's sometimes volatile. Right now, it's rising slowly. How does all this, and therefore, if the consumption spending is slow, which is a major bulk of the GDP, di ba?
Yes.
How do you see the GDP for the next year, or the last quarter this year, or the first quarter?
Since I've been around for some time,
Right.
I think that people are a bit too myopic about inflation and what's happening this month, next year. We gotta look beyond, every election is a new.
Because-
We're creating a new republic. That's
Steve,
how I feel.
you cannot fault them because they live on a subsistence level.
Yes.
They live from a paycheck to paycheck.
Correct.
So you cannot have more than a 15-day.
I'm talking about from the government's point of view.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
there has to be continuity.
You mean to say the
in
government is
projects.
myopic?
No. Yeah, well, yes, in their implementation of programs. That's why my administration ends here, so I gotta finish this product. I'm sorry for saying this, Ben, but
Yes.
it just ends here because, makikinabang yung next guy. So why, what for, right? Unlike earlier
No, but we
administration.
can do government interventions. diba?
Yes, yes.
Like for instance, if you know that the current inflation rate is below the targets, so you can do a lot of things. You can pump prime the economy. For instance,
Yes.
pwede tayo mag-infra spending. Unfortunately, may flood control scam.
Not
That's
only
why-
that, ako, if I were the government, alam mong pamilya, pinagagastan, aside sa pagkain, education, health. If the government will subsidize health heavily,
Yeah.
that will give me a lot of room for my
Disposable income.
disposable for my family. Education. Ganun ang mga intervention, hindi yung
Our sector finds that government, the different administrations, sometimes use quick fix, shortcuts, pogi points, just to be able to get ahead. May issue na ganun. This is what we do. May issue na ganun, this is what we do. Just to fill in. Pero nothing on a continuous, basis, like programs for roadmaps for different industries. It's there. Meron. Pero na-implement ba? Kasi within the last administration, ito ginawa. Binura lahat ng ginawa.
Okay, let's be more practical. Okay, now you see that consumption spending is low, and therefore people are not buying, and therefore prices will not go up so much. But that's going to deflate. That will not increase the economy, the GDP. So, in your perspective, what should government do to improve the economy?
Well, I know the government is pump priming, increasing.
But that's a problem right now.
Yeah.
Construction is a halt,
Right.
because of the flood
Wala.
control. Government is not spending much on pump priming.
In fact, there's a fear that 2025 budget sa mga DPWH, nobody will bid ng mga contractors.
That's a major contributor to GDP, but that's now deflated. Even R.C. Balisacan said a few months ago that it was a cause why GDP went down. So what other prescriptions you might have?
Jobs. We need a lot of jobs. And how do we get jobs if investors move out of the country? The local businessmen do not expand their business. How do we increase jobs? SRP, for example, that's a form of price control, right? Not that I don't want them to subdue price. Prices are management decisions. Nobody will want to price his product out of the market and lose out to the competitors, kinain ng lahat ng market share nila, di ba? Ingat na ingat ang manufacturers mag-increase ang price. We're a free enterprise. Let it flow, no? I mean, not because you don't want these people to make money. They need money to infuse, to be able to invest and expand, right? And create more jobs. Di ba? Kasi consumer-driven economy tayo, hindi naman export.
Steve, how much of an impact on prices, on the fuel, and in the global fuel prices, in your cost of production?
That increases the cost of operation of the distributors.
Right.
Very few retailers buy direct now from manufacturers. Yun naman ang idea ng manufacturers from decades ago. Slowly pass on to distributors. Magreklamo kayo sa kanila. Now, it's now, to us, retailers, it's manufacturers without a face. Sino bang nagpapatakbo niyan? Sino bang nag-decide niyan, di ba? Sabi ng distributor, nung sabi sa taas eh.
Kahit na
Not
alam
only
natin
fuel,
product
yung
is
logistics
kunyari,
pa.
Unilever, or you don't deal with them anymore?
Well, yun ba, you call them retailers, key accounts. The
Okay.
big ones that they want to retain. You have 100 stores, you have 50 stores, I want to retain
So
your
let's go
account.
back. Next year, do you see, will fuel crisis affect, is there a possibility of global, in your analysis, will there be an increase in global fuel prices? It will affect the Philippines, and will that also affect prices next year?
We are at the mercy, always, of imported
And you
goods.
think it will go up?
It will. I mean, raw materials, hindi lang fuel eh. Raw materials, even the can, even the lid, everything's important.
Saka
It's cheaper
infrastructure din, actually.
It's cheaper now to
Infrastructure.
import than to manufacture, eh, di ba? I mean, sakit sa ulo pa sa tauhan, sakit sa ulo pa sa this and that, di ba? Typhoon and everything else. So, nag-i-import na lang ang tao, di ba?
Are we currently in a price freeze atmosphere? We are?
We ended the price freeze October 21, and by 28, another price freeze of 3 months. So, 3 months, 6 months. Price control na yun, di ba? I mean, it will not help move in the economy in the long term. Short term, it's good for the consumers. Uy, pinotektahan tayo, hindi nag-increase for those items being monitored. Less than 300 items lang yun.
300 items which are...
Pero major brands yan. Pag nag-atching ang major brands, galaw ang kalaban.
Pero limited lang yung items ng mga price freeze eh.
Ito ba yung
Hindi
mga
lahat, basic
mabentang
na,
mga...
yan,
Most
medyo.
popular brands.
Yeah.
So, when is the price freeze going to be lifted? The second price
Well, they
freeze?
just mentioned till end of the year. Para perception natin, tataas till end of the year. But it's 3 months eh. 3 months from October 28.
Yes,
so
3
that's,
months ang... Ano,
sabi ko, kalahating
December.
taon, di ba? Kalahating taon. February na, by the time
But in
January.
spite of the price freeze, we see that consumers are not spending. So, if double dead kayo.
Double whammy, yeah.
Double whammy yan.
Exactly. Kaya nga, we're afraid that it might lead to, wag naman sana, recession. Di ba?
Oh, so far
Wag
naman, wala pa naman.
Oo, wala pa naman. So, let's not go that
It's
direction.
still far.
Oo,
We're now-
lahat tayo. That's a flood na we cannot get out of.
What's the projection for the fourth quarter GDP this year? What do you think? Do you think it will be
Di ba,
higher than
di
the
ba,
third quarter GDP because of Christmas spending?
Yeah, it should be. It should be. Siyempre, the pandemic was also something which added to, some supermarkets are operating at 30% of their number of checkout counters up to now. Up to now, yes. These are the big stores.
But I thought the big ones have
baka
already...
because of the yung mga online
Not for all their stores.
Ha?
In general
Is
lang
it that
lahat.
because of the online
No.
selling?
No. The online
Kasi ang laki
online has
din
gone
yun
down for food.
Oh yeah, online
for
selling pala.
For
Oo.
food, this has gone down.
But
For non-food, yes. May damit, books, pero gifts, no. Pero for food, hindi naman lahat nag-online. Lalo na fresh produce, di ba? Gusto mo, ay, naku, dumating, kala ko ba, mura pala, ganon.
You were suggesting a prescription. How do we increase the GDP? No?
Yeah.
And one of the other things also that economists are looking at, and also business people are looking at, is since the inflation is low, the core inflation is at 2.4%.
Yes.
Should it be time for the BSP to cut its interest rate so that it will stimulate the economy? Kasi mas
I think
mababa
it has
ang
been
interest
doing
rate.
that. It has been doing that slowly, right?
No, they haven't moved
They
for.
haven't moved
But do you think they should cut interest rates to stimulate the people will borrow money, mas cheaper ang utang?
Always, multi-pronged approach. No? It's never just one solution for all of these what's happening kasi ang dami nangyayari, different factors, different elements
Yes,
all
yes,
happening at the same time. The political, di ba? Atmosphere, no?
The-
circus
not
that's
only local,
happening.
but the geopolitics.
Siyempre, di ba? We all have friends, OFWs, and people who, expats abroad. They keep telling us, it's time for me to go back and retire. Di ba? And then they said, nung election, I will, with all the, hype and everything. And then after election, tsaka na lang muna.
Ano mo, the election years always mataas ang GDP.
Okay, good.
I remember in 2010, we had a 7 point something percent. And then second year namin 3.8 because we had to fix the leakages. This year, doesn't
Election
seem to
year,
be-
yeah, election year.
It's not acting like it's an election year.
No impact for us in the
Why?
supermarket business. Maybe for the big boys. So yung ba tao, sigurado lang dito lang kukuha. Tsaka it's available everywhere. Ang dami tinayong branches di ba? Everywhere, nationwide, sa pati probinsya. Pero for our association, we were, expecting election year nga, di ba? Hindi,
So, is this a
wait,
point-
let me tell you also,
Yeah.
this Christmas in particular, because of what's happening, all this, news about investigations on corruption, the LGUs, they're not buying anymore, they're buying in bulk direct from
Wait.
manufacturers to give to the people.
Hindi
So
ko
wala na,
maintindihan,
hindi umabot sa amin.
There's a caution for spending.
Yuda,
ngayon eh.
yung AIX at saka AKAP,
Yes.
in the election cycle, ang ginastos ng gobyerno, 130 billion. Saan napunta yun? Wala kayong naramdaman doon
Well, some were saying online gaming, right? That's what the others were saying. It went to online gaming. People wanted quick, easy money. But I don't agree na it all went to online
hindi naman
gaming
lahat,
naman.
hindi
Oo,
No,
di
no,
ba?
but ibig sabihin, wala kayong naramdaman. Ang laki-laki ng 130 billion yan.
Maybe in the countryside. I mean, in Metro Manila in particular, hindi namin masyadong naramdaman.
But you're in the provinces. You
Yes.
mentioned, so the
Yes.
provinces...
Meron. They've expanded, they've opened in different areas naman. Meron. So, maaaring doon napunta yung service.
Pero yun nga, tama ka, Atty. Edwin, no? Election year, dapat ang GDP natin.
When I meet them, we meet quarterly, face to face. Kamusta? Parang wala nangyari. Ganun ang mga reaction. Kaya nga.
So, saan napunta yung...
So we're talking nationwide to. We're not talking no. Of course, I didn't go ask each and every one, no. Pero yung mga those who attended, no. I mean, they say they feel na parang hindi, Well, of course, those who are making good probably in the countryside, tahimik lang sila. That's possible also. Let's face it, right? Baka di sila nagkasalita kasi okay tayo.
Pero
tahimik na lang
bakit
tayo.
dati it is reflected in the
Yes,
GDP.
yes.
Di ba?
Totoo,
Ngayon, parang hindi.
There's something wrong with it's really just interesting that these things are not happening as we have expected them to be. And also right now, especially right now, prices are so low. Even if the prices are low, people are not buying them, di ba?
Difficult for us in the business sector to decide, okay? We want to order a lot kasi magka-Christmas, pero we don't want to be overstocked because credit terms have decreased ever since the pandemic. Okay? 7 days to pay. Kararating lang, wala pa tayo na benta, kailangan bayaran na kaagad, di ba?
Wala na 60 days.
Yeah, dati, wala na. Wala for non-food. For non-food.
I have a question for you. Do political scandals and corruption controversies actually translate to higher prices on the shelves?
I would tend to think so. I would tend to think so. But that's in general. That's in general. But again, it's a management decision. So those who said, I don't want to increase my prices so I can eat into my competitors' market.
If you say translation, how fast is the translation to, let's say, ngayon, narinig natin corruption ngayon. How fast does it affect the prices?
You know, if I were in the boardroom, I'd say, elasticity. If we increase
Okay.
prices, will we get the same demand sa market, or will it go down by bigger than the increase in prices, right? So it's a very difficult to, but it's made in the boardroom.
It's a parang tango yan eh. Yung may decision ng mga
That's right.
tapos yung consumer.
Cost effect.
It's a very,
Cost effect.
Very
Delicate,
balancing there.
yeah,
Because
that's right.
sabi niyo nga, consumers are weighing in eh.
Cost-benefit
may pera pa ba tayo
analysis
sa
ng
susunod?
manufacturers.
Magpapadala pa ba sila sa amin? Mga ganun eh.
Supply and demand. There was a year everybody ate prepared spaghetti. Taasan. Kasi naubos ang production. They had to reproduce. They had to ask their people to come in and produce and everything. Nagtaasan ang presyo ng pasta. The following year, walang nagprepare ng... konti. Nabawasan yung nagbabaan ng presyo. Nagbabaan ng presyo. Hindi halata ng tao, nagbabaan ng presyo.
There's
Ng pasta.
a lot of uncertainty going on right now because of the corruption scandal, because of all these cases being filed left and right. Does it affect your members have to invest, expand, or maintain their inventory stock? No.
That will depend on the area. Remember, very important for retailers, location.
So it's not a national.
No.
There's no national behavior.
No. Kasi kung may tumabi sa akin kalaban, what do? Do I expand? Do I buy the property beside me? It's a management decision.
Are supermarkets embracing for a economic hit in 2026 because of politics
Or rebound?
or rebound?
Yeah, we're all hoping it's going to be a rebound, of
But
course. But
given the situation
the way
right
we
now.
look at it right now, yeah, dampened ang confidence level ng tao eh. Diba?
Okay. Maraming salamat, Steve.
Sure.
So ito sa good
My
discussion.
Parang basta pagkain talaga.
talaga.
Close to our stomach, syempre.
Pagkain at saka presyo
That's
talagang...
Susubukan ni Eileen bumili ng 500 peso na Noche Buena. But anyway, so today this wraps up our episode for The Spokes. For now, don't settle for just one side of the story because every issue has two perspectives and the truth may be somewhere in between. I'm Attorney Edwin Lacierda
I'm Governor Ben Evardone.
and we are The Spokes.